So this is Penguin's deck list. So Shidai, looks like Shidai Mantra. Mantra, yes. So for those unfamiliar with how Mantra decks work, the basic idea is you play a pile of spells, ways to discount them, ways to draw more spells, cycle through your deck, and then you kill your opponent with Firestone Mantra. Firestone Mantra is a 6 mana card. It says deal 2 damage to your opponent and gain 2 life for each spell you cast this turn, which includes the mantra itself. So if you can, say, play an Adjudicator to reduce the cost of some spells in your hand by 1 each, and then on 6 or 7 mana you can play 4 or 5 cards and mantra them in the face for a bunch. Other key cards in this deck, Phoenix Fire is a staple. That's not a massive surprise. It's a very common removal spell. It helps you go face. It's very efficient at all stages of the game. 8 Gates is almost always played in this deck, although Penguin doesn't seem to have any, presumably for budget reasons. 8 Gates makes your mantra more powerful twice over, basically by giving it bonus spell damage, as well as by being a spell to buff it, and also buffs up any Phoenix Fires or Ghost Lightnings or whatever you might throw out during the kill turn and earlier in the game. There's lots of other removal. This one has Bamboozle and Onyx Bear Seal to turn things into Pandos, Cobra Strike to kill something and shoot them in the face at the same time. You get 2 Phoenix Fires for the price of a single card. Thunder Bomb, which is like a combination of a Phoenix Fire and a Ghost Lightning, allowing you to clear one large thing or medium-sized thing and some smaller things. And Mana Vortex to help churn out lots of spells in one turn. Hello, Swissstick, thanks for joining. I don't think you made it onto the commentary stream this time, but hopefully... Will these commentaries be uploaded to YouTube? Absolutely. Everything will be on YouTube, hopefully with the first one starting this evening. But if not, tomorrow. It depends whether I have time to do editing after the stream. But yeah, everything will be up there for posterity. Don't feel like you have to stick around and watch everything, although there will be giveaways. What else? So, another card that's very commonly in this list that isn't in Penguins is Crescent Spear. Again, presumably for budget reasons. Spear is a very cheap way to give very persistent spell damage. So an artifact that gives +1 attack to your general and +1 damage to all your spells. So the deck is going to be somewhat nerfed by its lack of access to these efficient bonus damage effects. But I think Penguin has made up for that by including Mana Vortex and Lantern Fox, which are... Lantern Fox is reasonably common. Mana Vortex isn't that common. And Zoe, which is a cheap early creature that can get in a couple of points of face damage and then cycle into a discounted spell. On top of that, Penguin's also playing Blood Rage Mask, which is, I think, a really nice backup plan for a deck like this. It allows you to get in damage in the early to mid game, and a Blood Rage Mask is usually worth 4 or 5 points of damage to your opponent's face in a deck like this, where you're often running away, killing their stuff, protecting yourself, and drawing additional cards. And finally, there's a one-of Eternity Painter in here. Again, not a common choice in Mantra, but if your deck's slightly slower, might need a turn or two you want to set up the kill, having an additional, very powerful removal effect is a really big swing that can buy you potentially multiple turns as a really nice addition to the deck to cover for that weakness. Penguin's my homie, and I'll be sure to get the link to him. Brilliant. Yeah, I'll post links on Reddit and Discord as once all the videos are up, basically. On the sideboard in the sideboard terms, we have Prophet of the White Palm. I assume this is for the mirror, where Firestone Mantra does basically nothing if there's a Prophet of the White Palm has been played the previous turn. So if you need one more turn to combo and you need to make sure your opponent can't combo you, you can drop the Prophet and buy yourself a time by brute force. Mind Cage Oni is a decent threat that draws a card. It's probably helpful against other Songhai decks again. Basically anything with lots of removal spells. Like Tempo decks in particular, where they're trying to play removal spells and minions, where you can steal their natural selection or whatever and kill something else with it. Four Winds Maga is really good against aggro, artifacts, the mirror again, basically anything. And Silhouette Tracer is a nice tool for running away from decks trying to pressure you. So there's not much in here to help beat control, but because the deck is so, you don't care about removal with Mantra, your control matchup's already good. If your opponent's trying to hang back and kill your stuff, not pressuring you very much, that's perfect. So the sideboard is just full of tools to help beat other combo decks and help beat aggro decks, help beat artifacts, anything that might be difficult to deal with using the main deck plan. Then we have Arxil on the other side of the board. Arxil is playing Swarm Lilithe. So we saw a bunch of Swarm last time, and the lists definitely had weaknesses. Mainly the lack of card draw. So I'm very pleased to, on first glance, notice that this player has included Vellum Scry. Vellum Scry is a really, really, really good card for a deck like this, because not only are you playing lots of cheap fodder to sacrifice to it, you're playing lots of cheap fodder, so you need more card draw to make up for the small power of your actual cards. None of the cards in this deck do much independently, but when you have a critical mass of them and stack them all up, they can do wonderful things. And to glue all of that together and recover from AoE effects from your opponent, you need card draw. Hence Vellum Scry. So this, at first glance, looks like a pretty standard Swarm list. We have a mix of payoffs in Soul Shatter Pact, which gives all your minions +2 attack, Furor Chakram, which gives all your minions +2 attack and Frenzy, and Deathfire Crescendo, which makes a single minion very, very large, as well as Shadow Dancer and Bloodtide Priestess as engine cards that can help pressure your opponent, keep you alive, and keep the Wraithling train flowing. To make use of all that, there's a pile of cheap stuff. We have Furiosa's really good with, obviously, any amount of Wraithlings and the Bloodborne spell. Cryptographer synergizes with Furiosa and lets you put down lots of Wraithlings early. Wraithling Swarm puts down lots of Wraithlings. We have Gloom Chaser and Zix for extra bodies. And Blood Tear, which is a Blood Tear Alchemist, which is both a cheap body and a little bit of extra removal, which a deck like this doesn't get to play a ton of. In more unusual choices, there's a mix of 2 Demonic Lure and 2 Ritual Banishing. That's pretty normal, I think, as a removal suite, but probably it's quite light. I think with only 4 real removal spells plus some pings, you probably want to play an extra card draw effect to help find them, because there will be games where you need to kill 2 things. And we also have Shadow Watcher. Shadow Watcher is not played very often because it's very vulnerable to Dispel, but it can hit like a ton of bricks when it goes off. So it'll be interesting to see whether that works out. In the sideboard, this with the rest of the removal lives, I should have looked at this. So the sideboard, we have quite a few cards that are already in the main deck, just to bulk up to 3 copies in the matchups where they're good. I really like this approach. I've done this myself quite a lot. You build a deck with lots of 1 and 2 of cards that you don't always need in every matchup, but are generically useful in most matchups. And then you put the additional copies in the sideboard for when you really need them. So for anything big, we can bring in the 3rd Ritual Banishing. For aggro decks, we can bring in the 3rd Demonic Lure. For other Swarm decks, there's Grasp of Agony to back up the existing removal package that kind of acts as a duplicate. And Breath of the Unborn to deal with real Swarm decks like the Mirror. I think Breath of the Unborn is a very underrated card, although the healing won't do a ton in this deck. There's also an extra copy of Shadow Dancer, which is a really good card for slower, kind of mid-rangey games, where at some point you'll end up with some Wraithlings in play. You can drop a Shadow Dancer and trade them in to swing the health, ping off an artifact, all sorts of utility. And then rounding off the package, there's 3 copies of Primus Shieldmaster, which is a really good sideboard card for any sort of aggressive matchup, where you just need to buy yourself a bit more time, get pressure off your face, and put a solid body in the middle of the table that would trade with things. So looking at the matchup between the 2 decks, I would say that... I think this is going to come down very heavily to whether Ghost Lightning comes out early, because ordinarily, as a Mantra player or other spell high, like 8 Gates Raver, any sort of like Tempo Song High or Combo Song High deck, your plan against Swarm is 8 Gates plus Ghost Lightning. It deals 3 damage to everything, which can clear off minions buffed by Furiosa, even multiple copies of Furiosa, can kill a Bloodtide Priestess, Gloom Chasers, Cryptographers, you can sweep them all up in a damage buffed Ghost Lightning. BroImNotAPenguin doesn't have that. They don't have the spell damage buffers, which means they might end up relying on drawing 2 Ghost Lightnings, or I guess stacking up lots of Thunderbombs. Thunderbomb's quite good against Bloodtide Priestess. But I think they're going to have to draw a lot of AoE to force through, to forcibly remove enough of Arxil's stuff to buy enough time to get to that turn 7, turn 8 mantra kill. Whereas I think Arxil is probably favoured here given the makeup of Penguin's deck, but that depends on whether Arxil knows going in that Penguin is or isn't running 8 gates. Because if you don't have to play around that, it makes things a lot easier. You can play more aggressively and only worry about 1 damage on Ghost Lightning instead of 2 or 3. This is clunkier than the last. Whoa! I should have... I wish you could default to real-time on. I didn't even see what the cards were that got replaced. This hand's pretty medium, but I'll just start the game going. And we'll see. So, looking at Penguin's hand, the turn 1 Zoe is pretty clearly the play to make. It takes up space, helps contest board better than the Blood Rage Mask does. I would definitely hold on to the Ghost Lightning. I think you can replace the Blood Rage Mask there. Maybe the Adjudicator. I think one of those 2 cards is replaceable. I like the Furrow Chakra replace. This hand is great actually. Turn 1 Crypto, BBS, and either Zix or Sphere. Like, you do need to direct. This is a bit awkward because the Zoe will remain 2 health. That I definitely don't like. That Mono Tile is not important. Oh wait, I'm counting wrong. Sorry, I thought they didn't have mana. The game just displayed it to me oddly. Although maybe, even then, maybe you just play Blood Tier Alchemist here and ping this. Okay, so that's lucky. Because if the Zoe comes forward and hits this, then she has to clear it with her face instead of using Blood Tier. On the other side of things, the Ghost Lightning is probably the play here. With like Ghost Lightning, Gatatsu, Gatatsu. It cycles a bunch of stuff and clears. I don't like this very much. Oh, they're going to Gatatsu Ghost Lightning. That seems fine. No Ghost Lightning. I think you Ghost Lightning there. There's not going to be that many better targets for it. I guess deploying the Blood Rage Mask at all is good, but like you get really punished by Furiosa here. This seems a bit early for a Death Fire Crescendo. I don't know if I like it very much. I guess it's better than too many of the other options. What have we got? There's a Mist Walking come off the Zoe. That's pretty bad. I said that it might actually help escape this 5-6. So although the Death Fire Crescendo may have been early, it's in a very good position, at least. Penguin replaced the Onyx Bear Seal last turn. I missed that. That's pretty... Well, obviously it's been punished, but that's also a pretty greedy move. So like this is one of the reasons why casting the Ghost Lightning last turn would have been preferable. Because it's just horrible now. This is going to get enormous, and you're really on the hook to find something. It's just really awkward. Like, at least replace first and see if you can find the OBS. And I would probably Kotatsu this one instead of this one. I have no idea what that does. Let me just mouse over it. Give a friendly minion or general backstab 2 this turn. That's useless. Yeah, I think you Kotatsu this one and attack the one there. Still no OBS. I mean, if that Spiral was a mantra, things would be looking good-ish. But Arxil's in a domineering position here. At least from Penguin's perspective, Arxil can't clear out the mask this turn. But Penguin is gonna... Penguin's looking pretty dead here. I think from Arxil's side, I would probably just Shadow Spawn and pass. I don't know if you need to play the Blood Tier yet. It's probably better to... I think I would hold on to this for the replace, or for pinging off the Blood Rage Mask next turn. Because now you're playing into another Ghost Lightning. I mean, Ghost Lightning Onyx Bear Seal, but still. Whereas saving, you want to save this and not replace it. Dig for Furiosa, because then you can make these massive. But Mistwalking doesn't do anything. So you obviously cast Ghost Lightning, but then what? I think you have to keep the Mistwalking. You take one hit from this and then you can actually run away from it. Ah, there we go. Found the removal. Right, so this puts Penguin in a massively commanding position. Now, Arxil can still ping off the artifact, but they need to find some action pretty quickly. I guess you can just play out a bunch of stuff and hope there isn't a third AoE spell. Maybe you replace the Cryptographer then? No. All over it. So awkwardly, this is playing right into the Thunder Bomb too. This game would look very, very different if Arxil had drawn a Furiosa. Like, a lot of what Penguin is doing was very punishable by, you know, either Arxil having Furiosa, or Shadow Dancer, or Penguin obviously not drawing Onyx Bear Seal. Replacing the Thunder Bomb. Oh no, they're casting it. Just looks weird. So Penguin's hand is pretty bad now, but they're doing alright. Building up spells. So once the Mantra is drawn, it's going to be quite good. Draw a card at end of turn, that's probably the best one here. Trades damage. Trading damage is interesting. I don't know if I like that. I guess with the Spiral technique in hand, yeah, setting up for Spiral is good. Because if you just go face for a couple more turns and don't die, you can Spiral on curve and that wins the game anyway. So I think Arxil needs to run away here. Further than that. I would, if I was Arxil, I'd run away to here. And try and set up as much defense between themselves and Shidai as possible. Alright, Mantra is in hand. Repeat, Mantra is in hand. Not sure I like replacing the Adjudicator there. No, I guess you do want more spells. So here, do you just play Adjudicator and Zoe? I guess so. Let's do maths. So next turn, they'll have 8 mana. They can go... I would not play that here. Oh, they can Mantra as well. Right, awesome. Yes, of course, because the Mana Vortex makes the thing cheaper. So that deals, what, 8 damage? And gains 8 life? That's pretty good. And with the Spiral for next turn, it's very safe. I don't think you need to bother attacking there. I guess it plays around Shadow Dancer? Yeah, it plays around Shadow Dancer. That does not do it. So obviously knowing Penguin has the Spiral technique, we know there's not much Arxil can do about this, but I like this play. This is good defensive positioning. It's a bit awkward against, obviously, any ping effect, but... Oh no, the Gloom Chaser here is good. That way Penguin has to clear a couple of these. But obviously Penguin has the Spiral, and lethal is achieved. Oh, but they're showing off with Mantra. Fine. Come on, don't BM in a tournament. What if you mess it up? Arxil could have cast DFC on a closer Zix, right? Then could have hit him already. I think that's right, yeah. The one with 1 health. because the 1-2 still trades, and it becomes a 5-5. There is one downside to that, which is that Penguin can attack it with Shidai, taking 5, and then Phoenix fire it, because it's on 5 health and within reach. Far from a rookie at this point. So, right, we have Arxil's hand ready. So we're now looking at BroImNotAPenguin on the big screen, and seeing some mulligan decisions right here. I wasn't quick enough to pause it just before the game clicked on these, but I think I agree with this decision. I think so. Cobra Strike is a decent answer to Blood Tide Priestess, but Onyx Bear Seal will do as well. Yeah, Rookie Brawl. Onyx Bear Seal will also answer a Shadow Dancer, which this doesn't, without spell damage in the deck. And it's cheaper, so that's good. Gotatsu is really nice. Kills a Wraithling, cycles, digs through your deck. Adjudicator is good if you replace into the right cards. It's not really the sort of thing you need early, but it's probably better than... well, certainly better than Eternity Painter, which is definitely a late game card and not really for this matchup. Possibly, you can make an argument that Cobra Strike's better than this in the matchup. And maybe the correct replace is the Adjudicator here. Adjudicator and Painter, because then you can kill Blood Tide with this and Shadow Dancer with this, or a DFC unit with this, and not use up your most powerful removal spell on an on-curve turn 2 play. Hey, Arxil, thanks for joining. I thought you were doing the tournament that was going on now. Oh, my bad, yes. I did notice that it was running... I did notice earlier that it was running concurrently. It's a bit awkward there. It's fine, it'll be on YouTube. So, let's hit play. Those are both very, very good draws. So I think you ship the Adjudicator here. And you play the Zoe in the middle. That seems good. From Arxil's side, ooh, this is not bad. Turn 1 Wraithling Swarm Gloom Chaser is probably preferable. Like, hide the Furiosa, protecting it from removal. Oh, synchronization is slightly off. Just pause this for a moment. I think that's good. So back to Penguin. What do you even do here? I guess Ghost Lightning Gotatsu, you just clear it all. Nothing fancy. Again, I would replace the Adjudicator. Like, you're casting these cards, you're not discounting them. I guess you could play the Adjudicator and then play both of these for 0. I don't think I like this. Yeah, you can use the Boulder Hurl to kill that, but like, that's a bit of a waste, isn't it? Oh wow, that's so greedy. Goodness. This opens you up to a lot of punish. Like, this is exactly what Ghost Lightning is for. Boulder Hurl the face. Definitely don't do that. You need to protect yourself against all sorts of combos when you're playing against Swarm. You're in Team Wars. What, right now? Team Wars is ongoing as well. That's crazy. So Arxil doesn't have the Bloodborne spell up yet. DFC, wow, that is a good punish. I do like this. It will get answered by the Onyx Bear Seal, but Arxil will be able to get in a ton of damage fast. And running out the Zix to take up extra space seems solid too. 8U. Yeah, I like going face there rather than killing the Rockadoptera. Obviously, Penguin does have the answer, but they've already taken 8. And that's a big deal. You don't want a Bloodborne spell here, because it makes you mill a card. You just pass now. Clear that. The trick here is to identify as soon as possible what your opponent's win conditions actually are. In the case of Hyperswarm, they only need a few bodies to deal massive amounts of damage. I agree, and I think even if they're not playing Hyperswarm, there's so many ways you can get punished, like very efficient trades, setting up Shadow Dancer to deal chip damage. Like, there's lots of ways that it can just cost you a game. Even though Mantra does have a good way to come back in the combo, it's still very easy to just throw a game by leaving some stuff alive when you shouldn't. So Arxil is now looking at a pretty scant hand. I don't know if he replaced the Furiosa or not. This is fine from Penguin's perspective. The discounted Heaven's Eclipse is nice. Oh, was that off? That was off So. Holy crap. 3 mana Heaven's Eclipse. And I think you want to Petal Flurry earlier in the turn if you're going to play your Adjudicator. You can do it first. This hand's looking pretty solid. Some from Arxil's side. Well, I guess you play everything, right? You play Blood-Tide Priestess. You trade the 1-1 for the 3-1. You trade the 2-2 for the... you hit the 2-2 into Shidai's face. I don't know if you attack her with Lilith. Probably not. We're coming... No, she's played an Adjudicator. We're coming up on a Mantra turn. So you want to... You just want to set up. Definitely don't do that. That's too aggressive. Oh, she replaced the... I would not have replaced the Blood-Tide there. I mean, the Wraithling Swarm works out quite well here, but like, you're playing 3 2-2s instead of a 3-3 and 2 2-2s. It's kind of... Swarm doesn't have much draw usually, that's his primary weakness. There are only so many times they can combo. Yeah. That's definitely true. And a lot of the time you can run them out of gas. I mean, the... So this is really weird positioning from Arxil, like, putting yourself right into the enemy's face here. So Penguin... Does Penguin have lethal? 1, 2, 3... No. No, no lethal. But double Ghost Lightning for a clear is good. And... Yeah, Adjudicator, Lightning, Lightning, Heaven's Eclipse is ludicrous. Actually, you can do better than that. You can play Heaven's Eclipse, then Adjudicator, Lightning, Lightning. Adding up to 6 mana, if I'm not mistaken. Where's their mana gone? Oh, they Bloodborne spelled. Yeah, I don't think you need to Bloodborne spell that. Like, you can just play the Heaven's Eclipse first. Because at that point, you can actually... Why would you do that? Because at that point, you can discount what comes off the Heaven's Eclipse, and you mainly need the discount for your Mantra. Like, you don't need them for tempo. The Adjudicator is terrible on tempo. You mostly need them for Mantra turns. So this stuff could all cost less right now. Which would make for a nice, relatively comfortable lethal. But instead, Penguin's going to have to do it the hard way. This is pretty awful for Arxil. I mean, making a bunch of stuff quickly is nice. But I guess Penguin's already used at least 2, possibly 3, I'm not sure, of their Ghost Lightnings. This is kind of okay. If Arxil top decks something good, they can win this game. But the best thing they can draw is probably Vellum Scry, just to help them actually play. So Penguin doesn't have lethal. Thunderbomb is real good here though. Goodness. Which one's this? Teleport an enemy minion 1 space. Doesn't do too much. I think you replace this Mantra. Well, in fact, you replace this Mantra first. But I don't know if ignoring the 2-1 is right. If that's what they're doing. Gonna face. Yeah, you definitely want to replace this Mantra, because the Spiral Technique makes for an easy lethal here. As it is, they don't quite have it with... No, they can use Mantra, Petal Flurry, Spell, this, to win. Honestly, I would have Mantra'd this turn, just to get the drain. I think I like the clear more. I guess you can get in for 6 with it. And then, because you have the second one. But it's so much harder to set up the second one. Whereas, clearing and Phoenix Firing is, like, easier. But I think it's more comfortable if you leave the 2-1, if you kill the 2-1 rather than trading face damage. Because you still have lethal with this. flurry, whatever comes off the flurry mantra. And potentially another drawn spell. That's 8 plus the attack is 10. Yeah. And this is a nice easy lethal. Man, there's been a common theme of, at least in the matches I've spectated of these brawls, of Swarm just not getting there. Poor Swarm. I think it's mostly because it's just people running out of gas. Like, Swarm is harder to play than people give it credit for, I think. And it can be effective on ladder because, you know, sometimes people don't have, well, people don't have sideboards, people don't necessarily pack, hit, for Swarm. They seem to not be running the important cycle cards. For Swarm or Mantra, there's definitely... Arxil definitely had some of the... they have like Sphere of Darkness and stuff, but Sphere of Darkness doesn't help that much. It's massive cards you need. Like, you need multiple cards to set up any of your combos. With only 2 Vellum Scries in the deck, they didn't draw them. Like, I think if you're going to play, just in general, if you're going to play budget aggro Swarm, put in 3 Vellum Scry, 3 Sojourner. And then you might, like, win. But the deck is so soft to a bit of removal, a bit of AoE, even without the spell damage buffs. And with some sequencing decisions that I personally wouldn't have made, Penguin was fairly easily able to keep Arxil's stuff just off the board. Even with making some greedy lines, leaving stuff up, Arxil didn't, you know, got some punishing done, but not enough to really make up for the fact that they didn't have any reload after that. Yeah, Sphere of Darkness is in the deck, we just didn't see them, but like, it doesn't really do anything. It makes your deck slightly smaller, but that's about it. And it pings things, which doesn't really matter in this matchup. I think with proper sequencing, Arxil could have won that match quite one-sidedly. I don't know, it depends. Penguin drew a lot of Ghost Lightnings, and I don't think that deck really beats them. Not without drawing lots of Furiosas. But there's definitely stuff that both players could have done differently to improve their equity in the games. I think, in particular, with Swarm, you need to be very conservative with your replaces. If you're playing a deck that doesn't have a lot of card draw, your replaces matter a ton, because they're the only control you have over what you draw. So, you always need to be thinking, I need to assemble A plus B plus C, right? You need Wraithlings plus Payoff. You need Bloodtide Priestess plus stuff to feed it. You need Shadow Dancer plus stuff to feed it. And you need to try and either play them all in the same turn, so as your opponent makes trades, your Deathwatch triggers, or set up the Wraithlings beforehand. Lean on your Bloodborne spell. It's very, very important. Like, you don't have to rush out units as much. And in fact, it requires some expensive cards, but you can play like a big Swarm deck that has stuff like Soul Grimoire and Vorpal Reaver, which are way more independently powerful, and they kind of persist a lot longer than some of the cards you get in Hyper Swarm decks or budget decks. So if you've got any spirit, they're a good direction to move in. Like, Vorpal Reaver is a really powerful card. It's a bit soft to transform, but like, you know, like, it's a big creature, of course it's soft to hard removal. Whereas, again, if they don't have the hard removal spell, you just win. Because either it belts them in the face for a ton, or they have to kill it, it turns into a bunch of Wraithlings, and now it sets up all your combos for you. So either way, it's like a 1-card combo or an enabler for all your 2-card combos.